It's a video I never thought I'd have to make.
This is a post I have not been looking forward to making.
So after 15 years,
coming up on about 22 years of tattooing.
After 31 years of living this dream of being a tattoo artist.
Yes, it's true. I am closing down the Chrome Gypsy Tattoo.
I quit tattooing. It was inevitable at this point.
I am not only done with tattooing, but I am very done with owning a studio.
I put all my blood, sweat, and tears into this place.
It's a wrench making this video. It's emotional.
I'm even probably gonna share some tears.
Oh, hey. I didn't see you there. I've just been looking for another industry to obsess over because I don't know if you've noticed, but everyone is quitting tattooing right now. And honestly, I can't really blame anyone for jumping ship. In a world where most Americans are struggling to afford a carton of eggs, investing hundreds of dollars into body art in one day just isn't realistic for the vast majority of people. The days of making a decent living as a tattoo artist may now be a luxury only reserved for the lucky few, leaving many tattoo artists with no other option than to call it quits on the industry altogether. Today, I want to explore why this is all going on, because of course the economy is a massive factor here. It's not the only reason tattoo artists are quitting. And to prove this to you, I've spent the last month collecting as many quitting posts on Instagram as I could find. I have over 200 posts directly from either tattoo artists or tattoo studios announcing that they are quitting the industry or closing their tattoo studio. And we're going to go through all of this data today so that you and I can find out, why are tattoo artists quitting? And firstly, before we get into anything, I just wanted to say that pursuing tattooing is really difficult in many, many different ways, especially now. So I'm definitely not here to judge anyone for any reason they might quit the industry or feel like they need a break from it. I have a lot of respect for anyone who puts themselves out there and tries something difficult, even if that didn't necessarily work out. So with that being said, let's get into it. There's this traditional value held by some in the tattoo industry, and that is essentially this all or nothing mentality. The idea is that you have to dedicate your entire life to tattooing, and anyone who doesn't is simply not a real tattoo artist.
It's tattooing or nothing.
No plan B. If you have a plan B, then you're like setting yourself up to fail.
Tattooing is sadly like one of those careers that like you really have to put all your time into it, and by all your time is like all your time.
Tattooing has completely taken over my life for probably the last like 6 years.
I wake up, I go to work, I tattoo, I go back home, and I design tattoos and talk to my clientele until 2 a.m. and then I go to sleep, wake up, and do the exact same thing over again every single day. And that doesn't change, it just gets worse.
I've lost friends, I've lost girlfriends, I barely speak to my family.
There's this feeling that the more that you suffer for your career, the more legitimate it is. Or maybe it's that the more you suffer, the more legitimate your career feels. Here's an example post by tattoo artist I Hate Jason Swear. In it, he writes, "If you see tattooing as a part of your life path and wake up one day and see an exit ramp, take it. For most of us, there is no exit because tattooing is the end of the road. I was either going to make it or, except there was no or, and there still is no or. It hasn't been easy to pay the bills for a while, and my wife asked me one day as I was stressing about paying the bills, what is plan B? There is no plan B. This is it. This is what I do." And the rest of this post goes on to critique tattoo schools, which is a conversation for another day. But you get the sentiment that I'm talking about there. Tattoo artists are expected to keep showing up every day to what might be an empty tattoo studio, even after their loved ones are expressing some serious concerns. In a perfect world, it would be incredible if every person that came into tattooing found out that it's their life passion, and on top of that, somehow be able to make a livable income off of their passion for the rest of their lives. That's a pretty tall order, and unfortunately, it's just not the world that we're living in. Many people cannot tell their wives to simply forget about the bills piling up. I would say most people can't do that. When I got these roses on my shoulder in 2015, which is somehow a decade ago, I just walked into my local traditional tattoo studio and I got them done by the artist who was available. And he did an absolutely incredible job. I have not had these touched up at all. And they are just as bright and just as bold as the day that I got them. That kind of trust that I had in my local tattoo studio feels non-existent today. We all know the tattoo industry absolutely blew up in the last decade, and this popularity was initially triggered by reality TV shows featuring our favorite celebrity tattoo artists. And then once social media took over and the pandemic hit, tattooing took on heights like never seen before. Here's an interesting graph that shows the popularity of people Googling the term tattoo shop near me over the past 20 years. So you can see the search term begins to gain traction in the summer of 2012, which is not coincidentally at all a couple of months after the very first season of Ink Master premiered on Spike TV. So all of those memes blaming Ink Master for what's going on in the industry right now, I mean, they might not be that off. In this dip right here, you guessed it, March of 2020. What's really interesting though is exactly 1 year after COVID lockdowns. In March of 2021, this Google search term, tattoo shop near me, reached its height in popularity. Exactly 1 year after we were all confined to our homes, a ton of people were seeking out tattoo studios near them. And ever since then, we've been experiencing this pretty significant decline over time. When things gain this kind of popularity this quickly, the quality of the product being sold tends to decline as well. I'd argue that the general public's perception of what a good tattoo is has gone down quite a bit since I got my roses in 2015. That's how we have tattoo artists like Ariel De Jesus with a seemingly never-ending stream of clientele for these absolutely hideous tattoos. And if you consume tattoo content, you're very familiar with the amount of tattoo horror stories that fill our feeds on TV and on social media. It feels like every other day there's a new story of a botched tattoo or someone with a horrible experience going to get tattooed. I think this, in combination with the general lack of quality tattoos, has systematically eroded the trust of the entire tattoo industry. If the price isn't deterring our clients, it's the risks of getting a bad tattoo. Nowadays, the chances that you go into a tattoo studio and come out with something subpar are high. You might have a blowout, something spelled wrong, or copied directly from Pinterest. Even if you do get something that looks good or is well done, eventually that tattoo might be labeled as a red flag on TikTok. And then what do? Or you might walk into a tattoo studio nowadays and come out having only been bullied for being there.
The artist was also really stuck up and not nice.
A lot of tattoo artists are assholes.
And you're making me feel like you hate me for no reason. That's just the vibe that I got.
I just want to know what kind of business tactic is it to be such a dickhead?
All of these factors, in my opinion, lead us to where we are right now, the mass tattoo exodus. Now, there's no denying that a major shift has taken place, leaving many people wondering what is going on with the tattoo industry and why are so many tattoo artists quitting. So, like I mentioned, over the past month, I've collected a total of 209 Instagram posts from both tattoo artists and tattoo studios, either quitting tattooing or closing their tattoo studio. And we have a variety of different countries represented in our data, the vast majority of which are artists that live and work in the United States at roughly 50%, followed by the UK, Australia, and Canada, all at around 15%. And then less than 5% of these posts are from New Zealand, the Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, Ireland, and Denmark. Something also to keep in mind is that this is only self-reported data. I suspect the majority of people leaving the industry are just simply not posting about it. No one is really obligated to make a post like this at all, but I'm glad some people did so that we have something to talk about today. Firstly, we'll go through the reasons why tattoo artists are quitting, and then we will move on to tattoo studio closures. The top 2 reasons why tattoo artists are quitting the industry right now are number 1, they need a break, and number 2, for their mental and their physical health. Roughly 30% of these posts mentioned needing a break, and 25% mentioned their physical and mental health. Maybe that's why tattoo artists have such a bad attitude. They're completely worn out and exhausted. Tattooing is really difficult on your body physically. And many posts that I've gone through mentioned that their bodies are falling apart after years and years of tattooing. Here's an example by a tattoo artist that's been in this industry 13 years. No easy way of saying this, so I'll just say it. I'm quitting tattooing. I've had back issues for years, and this year is nothing short of hell. I'm waiting on surgery and extended time off work. Being unable to work comfortably, it just makes sense to call it a day. Having such severe back pain after being in this industry for so long that you have to get surgery to fix it is also not uncommon in the tattoo world. There's this endurance element to tattooing, and it goes back to the grind mindset of working yourself into the ground and ignoring your mental, your physical health. And here's another example by a tattoo artist who's been in this industry for 20 years. My body is falling apart, and I need to do something that not only keeps me physically healthy, but also sustains me intellectually and emotionally. The tattoo industry has been nothing but amazing to me, but with its current popularity and oversaturation of tattooers, I felt it was my responsibility to step aside, giving space to those who still want to hustle. I think it's really interesting that this person feels a responsibility to step aside for newer tattooers. That's definitely a unique perspective. People can't keep working themselves like this for that long. It's just not sustainable. And B. Collins goes on to explain that he's beginning a new career path. And this also happens to be our next most common reason. Number 3, we have that they're seeking a new career. This was mentioned 21 times. Having a regular paycheck, something you can rely on week after week, is very tempting for anyone who is self-employed. With regular employment, you're also not taking your work home with you, and clearly that's not the case for tattoo artists. Our next few reasons why tattoo artists are quitting are number 4, economic challenges, and number 5, the artist is retiring. And here's a post that touches on both of those. I'm in my 30th year and I've been struggling really hard to get any work for the last 5 years. I've tried every angle possible to get work in. I've done all of it, but in the end, I'm barely getting 1 or 2 appointments a month and I can't keep up with bills. Financially, tattooing is no longer a viable job for me, and it's taken me a while to really come to terms with it. Even after 30 years of tattooing and creating a really impressive portfolio of work, even these types of artists, these long-term career artists, can't make ends meet in this current climate. So that shows you that it's not only the newcomers that are quickly turning around and quitting the industry. This mass exodus, unfortunately, is affecting a lot of different kinds of artists at a ton of different skill levels and experience levels. I think, though, having a 30-year legacy in any career is a pretty incredible achievement. Especially having a career as an artist for that long is something some people only can dream of. I also came across this post that was kind of an outlier because no one else mentioned this, but I thought it was really interesting. So this is a post from Lydia Noel, and in this post, she writes, "Basically, I've been thinking a lot about this and I realized that I just don't fit into this industry. You have to be extremely social and outgoing constantly to actually make strides in the industry. And that is the complete opposite of my personality. I'm very introverted. I thought I could force myself to overcome that, but I wasn't able to." And then Lydia goes on in this post to explain that she prefers illustration and painting to tattooing so that she'd rather focus on that. I think the discussion of the social element of this career is really interesting because in my experience, Lydia is 100% correct here. I feel like this is an aspect of tattooing that goes very much unsaid, so I'll say it. While you don't need to be the loudest person in the room, you do need to be connected and be willing to put yourself out there socially as a tattoo artist. You need to do this with your clients, with your peers, with employers, with everyone. You do need to do that. This is a very social career. We work on people. People need to be able to talk to you. And that can be really, really taxing. As an introvert myself, I definitely really feel for Noelle. And I think this is an absolutely fine reason to be leaving an industry. But not everyone felt the same way. And Lydia actually ended up turning off comments on this post because of the negativity that she was receiving. In an edit, after having turned off the comments, Lydia writes, I made this post to inform my previous clients, not for people in the industry to shame me for leaving. I stand by my decision to leave and focus on my art career. I wanted to try tattooing because it's something I've thought about since I was a kid. And I'm so happy that I tried it, but unfortunately it wasn't for me. So what? It is absolutely okay and necessary in life for people to try things and find out that it's not for them. Not everything you try will be meant for you. You have to try a bunch of stuff in order to figure that out. But for some reason, there's a lot of negativity in a lot of these quitting posts. And I understand that people are stressed in this industry, but it's not an excuse to be rude. And I think that all of these negative comments that people like Lydia are receiving are really just people projecting their own fears and their own insecurities on to Lydia. Perhaps she didn't suffer enough for their liking. Some other reasons artists listed as to why they're leaving the industry are they want to focus on their art outside of tattooing. They're seeking a better life balance. They are returning to school, welcoming a child into their family, or they are overworked, burnt out, or moving. So here's a list of all of the reasons I collected as to why tattoo artists are quitting the industry. And none of these are particularly surprising. I think we've known about this for a long time. We've been living this, but it is interesting to see it all laid out. So let's move on to why are tattoo studios closing? Out of the 106 posts that I collected from tattoo studio owners, the most common reason why they're closing is actually that they gave us no reason at all. 30% of these posts only stated that the studio was closing, very matter of fact, and didn't list a reason why. I bring this up because I didn't want to assume reasoning for any of these tattoo studios if they truly did not give us any reason why, and clearly the majority did not, which is fine. Like I said, no one's obligated to make these posts at all. Putting that aside though, our top 3 most common reasons for studios that gave us a reason as to why they're closing are, number 1, they would like to close a chapter in their lives. Number 2, economic challenges. And 3, all of the artists at a certain studio are deciding to part ways. I think these 3 reasons together are pretty interesting as it points to this general reshuffling of tattoo studios that are going on. And more importantly, there seems to be a consolidation of the amount of tattoo studios. When tattooing boomed in 2021, the amount of tattoo studios absolutely skyrocketed alongside it. And we've been hearing tattoo artists complain about the amount of studios popping up in their cities and how it's just gotten to absolutely absurd numbers. What we are seeing now is potentially the pendulum swinging in the opposite direction. Less people are financially able to own and operate a public tattoo studio, and artists will either leave and find another more established studio or reevaluate. Here's an excerpt from a Canadian tattoo studio, Always Tattoo, that was in business for 7 years. As the economy shifts and the industry continues to evolve and reshape small businesses like ours, we've found ourselves at a crossroads. Our lease is coming to an end, and after much reflection, we've decided it's time to close this chapter. Our next few reasons as to why tattoo studios are closing are, number 4, the owner wants to return to being an artist, and number 5, they are seeking a better life balance. And these two kind of go hand in hand as tattoo artists and studio owners are spread so completely thin that they truly have no life outside of their work. Or at least that's how it seems from these posts. Here's an example from Lawrence, who's a tattoo artist in Australia, who closed his studio 7th Circle earlier this year. And here's what Lawrence had to say.
So after 15 years, I've made the carefully considered decision to close 7th Circle Studio permanently. The main reason I'm doing this is because owning and running a big shop by yourself is quite difficult, and I really miss being an artist. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to go back to being an artist.
I think this is also really reasonable. And after owning and operating a tattoo studio for 15 years, like that's a huge achievement. And stepping back from that to focus on your art, I think is nothing to look down on. In the tattoo industry, it's a huge faux pas for a non-tattoo artist to own a tattoo studio. So the majority of tattoo studio owners are artists themselves. And we already know how much artists are expected to work themselves into the ground. So being an artist and studio owner is just that compounded even more. Here's an example from Hearts Alive Tattoo, which was a studio that operated for over 5 years in the UK. The owner writes, "Times have been tough for all of us over the past few years, and we've done everything we could to try and make the shop work. But it's been a losing battle. The stress of trying to keep it going and make enough money to live has taken its toll on me personally, and it's stealing my love of tattooing and even drawing." It's unfortunate to hear this many people talk about being so overworked and so burnt out that they're losing their love for something that they are incredibly passionate about. And that's what happens when you apply a grind mindset to a creative career. Working 24/7 really is probably one of the worst things you can do for your creative brain. And even just recovering from burnout can take a really long time. I know this personally. Some of you may have noticed I've barely uploaded any YouTube videos in the past year. I have kind of been on my own break from YouTube and tattooing in order to recover from my own burnout. And it's taken me a long time to get back to a place where I can manage both again. The unfortunate thing is that when you're working that much, you're not even really clocking how burnt out you are. It just begins to eat away at your life and your health and your relationships until it's not sustainable anymore. And that's not an environment where creativity thrives. That's unfortunately an environment where mistakes happen. And in this industry, our mistakes are permanent and they affect people's lives. So the pressure is high, and clearly people are not able to sustain this type of working anymore. Some other reasons why tattoo studio owners have decided to close up shop are that the owner's moving, they are dealing with rent spikes. Rent spikes were mentioned quite a bit. Landlords of these businesses are doubling, if not tripling, rents in order to push tattoo studios out in some cases.
Unfortunately, we were handed a lease that is no one in their right mind would sign it. So, it is what it is.
And the rent's gone up by $5,000. I found out on the 1st, the landlord informed me that he wants me out of here within 30 days for no reason. Told me he doesn't want the income.
Other reasons are that they also need a break, are burnt out, or upset with how the industry has changed. A few studio owners were downsizing from multiple studios to just one, and some were downsizing from a tattoo studio back into a private or home studio. So here's a list of all of the reasons that I collected as to why tattoo studios are closing down. Similarly to tattoo artists, none of these reasons are particularly surprising to anyone. I think we know that there's this impossible standard on studio owners and tattoo artists. I think we know that. And our results as a whole are as follows. So out of the 209 posts that I collected, the top 5 reasons tattoo artists are quitting the industry are: they need a break for their mental and physical health, they're seeking a new career, they're dealing with economic challenges, or they are retiring. In the top 5 reasons tattoo studios are closing down are: number 1, they're closing a chapter; 2, dealing with economic challenges; 3, all of the artists are parting ways; 4, the owner wants to return to being an artist; and 5, they are seeking a better life balance. The general sentiment is that people in the tattoo industry are severely burnt out. There just isn't enough work to go around for this many tattoo artists and tattoo studios to be sustainable. So it's clear that we are dealing with a moment of reckoning. We're going to need to face these difficult realities in order to find a way to move forward. So, what is next for the tattoo industry? There's this tattoo studio called The Black Hat in Ireland, and they published this interesting article on the tattoo industry life cycle. They write, tattooing has followed the same curve every creative industry follows, from underground passion to explosive growth to saturation and finally decline and reinvention. And this graph that they have here looks a lot like our spike in tattoo popularity that we looked at before. And I think you can definitely argue that we're at stage 3, going into stage 4, if not already in stage 4. So here on this graph, number 3 is market saturation, client flow decreases, more artists than clients. You can definitely argue that we're in that, if not already past that. To the next one, which is 4, demand fragmentation, shop closures, and need for reinvention. The Black Hat argues that if tattoo artists want to survive this period, that they need to reinvent. They need to be strategic, highly skilled, and adaptable. Moving forward, I think there definitely will be fewer tattoo artists, but I think the standard at which we hold tattoo artists will be higher. Earlier, I mentioned the general lack of tattoo quality, and I think this is one of the first things that's already beginning to shift towards the better. I've definitely already noticed that clients are expecting more from their artists in terms of artistic ability and quality for the price. Just yesterday, I came across this TikTok by Lacey Young, and it shows how clients' attitudes are shifting.
Getting really cool, well done tattoos is one of the dopest things you can do for yourself. Like, I am so happy I did not spend my money before it was time. I got this done when I was 27, and that was a good age for me to get it done because at that time I had the money to really spend on getting a good tattoo done. I knew if I wanted it to cover my entire arm, I wanted it to be a masterpiece, and I had to have masterpiece money. This was almost $5,000. And I don't regret it at all. I wanted to take my time and I wanted it to be done very well. And I'm so proud of the fact that I stood on that, waited for the right person, waited for the right time, and didn't rush into this. If you are thinking about getting an arm sleeve or a leg sleeve or something really big on your body, take your time.
This was a really refreshing TikTok for me to watch, and I hope that this is something that continues because this is essentially the opposite of the mass production of the tattoo industry. This is something custom that was designed for Lacey. It was an investment, right? $5,000 is a lot of money, but that's a reasonable price for custom high quality artwork that you can wear for the rest of your life and be proud of. She's proud of her tattoo. Stuff like this makes me optimistic about where the industry is heading. I'm hoping that we'll trend back towards quality over quantity, and we can get back to a place where clients can trust their local tattoo studios, like how I did with my roses. Moving forward, I just don't think it's gonna cut it anymore to not be producing your own original artwork and also be good to your clients. Things that we hear about all the time, like bad attitudes, disrespecting clients, being late all the time, rescheduling a bunch. There is a lot of unprofessionalism in this industry. And veteran tattoo artists tend to blame social media or reality TV for ruining the industry. But I think that it just pulled back the curtain on an industry that's gone unchecked for far too long. For now, we all have to try to move forward as best as we can. And if that includes taking a step back for you, that's okay. You don't need to be working 24/7. You don't need to burn yourself out in order to make a career work for you, especially a career as an artist. If you're in it for the long term, I think you'll be able to make it through this period of despair. All we can do is sit around and work on our art, which will eventually just be better for our careers. So with all of that being said, I would love to know what you think about why tattoo artists are quitting. Let me know what you think about all the reasons we've discussed today for tattoo artists as well as tattoo studios. If you have any direct personal experience with this, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you have, leave me this emoji in the comments so I know that you are a real one. Bye everyone.